many times in my life listening to,
Wow.
10-year-old kids talk about what it means for them to live on this coast, and great grandmothers in their 90s talking about what it's been like to harvest seaweed every year in the springtime, to you name it, and you listen to enough of these testimonies and you're like, wow, this is a rich part of the world that has a lot of diverse people. And as Mark well knows, we're often at odds with each other. We rarely agree on things, especially when it comes to the environment. But on this one, it's just unanimous. People are opposed to this, and again, for the right reasons. So it almost the reverse has happened, where I feel so much more patriotic and so proud to be Canadian than I've ever felt in the past. And it's remarkable that in many respects it's an environmental issue that has made that happen. So I think that the long story may well be a good one, because this has gotten people off the couch. It's made people look at, I think, this country and where we're going and the kind of direction and leadership that we're expecting. And I think people are really dismayed with the current leadership federally and some of the things that are being said and the direction that this country's going. I think people have kind of woken up to how special this coast is and are willing to stand on the front line to protect it. It's kind of erased a lot of apathy, and we've just been blessed and endowed with so much natural beauty that you get kind of complacent about it, and this one is so severe, and the scale and scope of it is so significant, and the potential for damage is so great that it's I think woken a lot of people up, and for that we can thank Enbridge. I mean, I've never seen environmental groups, First Nations, communities, industry, politicians, business leaders, you name it, work so well together on any other issue. I mean, it's never happened before. I mean, it's a transformative issue. It's transforming, I think, who we are and our identity and what we're expecting out of the future. I think that we're going to look back on this in a bunch of years to come as a positive moment in our history. The question is, how do we put it over the top and secure a full moratorium on shipping traffic, shipping bitumen through these waters? How do we realize that in the next few years that we've got federal and provincial elections coming up?
So when the Prime Minister says it's in the national interest, the subtext to that being local opposition can't stop it. What's your feeling about that?
Well, I think that Harper has misjudged the level, sincerity, and depth of the opposition. When I sit at these hearings and I hear leaders like Bujal and Gerald Amos and Helen Clifton, and these are people who just they have earned so much respect as elders, as leaders in their villages and communities, that when they say that they'll go to the wall over this issue, that they will stand and put their boats in front of bitumen-laden tankers, you shouldn't take that lightly. These are people who don't say things lightly, and I think it's that level of opposition from the interior to the coast, native, non-native, you name it, that has just largely been misjudged. And we're seeing him backtrack now on a bunch of issues. There is a softening of the message from the federal government, but I think it's too little and too late. So I don't know, how does it make me feel? It's frustrating when you think of how this is changing people's lives, and how it's when we should be focused on perhaps economic development issues within these communities, really trying to transform the economies locally here towards something that's truly sustainable. Instead, we're right back to where we started out, and we're just having to say no to large industrial projects that potentially threaten this coastline in a significant way.
Doesn't sound like you have